Apple has gone downhill since 2020. I bought the iPhone 14 Pro and I already do not enjoy using the phone, and I'm wishing I kept my original 13 Pro still. This all started with how bad the iPhone 12 series was. It was a mess of software issues mixed with a worse design, which felt worse in hand, and with that design came smaller batteries. The 12 series was a downgrade from the 11 series, and the only real upgrades we seen at all were the 5G and the A14 chip. This year, I bought the iPhone 14 Pro on launch day, and it was fine for the first day. The second day I had it, I realized how little updates there were compared to the 13 Pro, and I realized that the camera sensor was definitely going to get scratched and cracked over time due to its size. I also started to notice even more focusing issues from the main camera. This is annoying because of how bad the macro camera is. Apple made it so the main camera is unable to focus up close at all. Even from a whole phone's distance away, that phone being the S22, it can't focus. The S22, on the other hand, can focus just fine up close with the main camera. That's only the smallest of my issues with the 14 Pro. I also noticed that iOS 16 came with a whole list of problems, which I will put up on the screen. The bad part is that every day I add more and more to this list, and iOS 15 was just fine when it launched last year. You can claim that these are small issues and they're unnoticeable, but these small issues add up to the worst iOS experience I've had since iOS 13 came out. I'm not going to sit here and say that the dynamic island is a groundbreaking feature. It's cool, but it's technically a downgrade from the notch, and it's much larger than the notch was. It goes down a lot more, and it cuts into the content where the notch wouldn't. If they just pushed it up, most of our issues would be eliminated. I also want to point out how big the camera module is on the 14 Pro. This is an issue because of the durability. I feel like I can't put my phone down anywhere without a chance of scratching the camera or the stainless steel camera borders. This wasn't an issue previously, not only because there was less area to damage, but also because the camera didn't stick out so far on the 13 Pro, 12 Pro, 11 Pro, 10s, 10, or any iPhone below that. This would be fine if the camera was that much better, but it's not. It's the same as it was last year. I thought 48 megapixels would be the best upgrade possible, but it's not. What's worse is that even in Pro RAW, the camera shoots at 46 megapixels as the metadata proves. The camera is definitely better by a decent bit, but the 13 Pro's camera was smaller, had better focus distance, and looked just fine already. And the always-on display would be cool if Apple did it the right way, but they didn't. They made the always-on display terrible. Apple made the wallpaper show through the always-on display. Glow through, if you want to say it like that. Which just looks weird. And there's no way to turn it off. They also don't let you see the battery in the status bar, as they just cut that whole part out of the always-on display. The closest thing that you can get to fixing the always-on display is making your background for the lock screen pure black or disabling it entirely. I wanted to use this phone all year, and I guess I'm going to be forced to because of eSIM. My advice, if you have an iPhone and made the unfortunate decision to update it to iOS 16, you might as well upgrade it since the issues will come anyway. If you have an iPhone 11 or higher on iOS 15, then wait until next year's upgrade or wait until iOS 16 is better. Because honestly, iOS 16 ruins this phone. I could put all of my issues with the hardware of the 14 Pro aside if the software was good in the slightest, but it's not, so I can't say that this is a good experience using this phone. Software is just as important as hardware, as you're always using the software whenever you're using the phone. Software is the real experience overall. Don't go and buy a 13 Pro just because it's on iOS 15 or just because of any of the problems that I have with the 14's hardware, because eventually you'll have to upgrade to a new phone anyway, and if you're just sitting there using an older phone, it's just wasting time and you're gonna have to get used to the new iPhones anyway. So it's better to just upgrade to the latest now, and whenever the next latest comes out, you'll already be used to the issues that it has. You could also wait until iOS 16 gets better to upgrade your iPhone, which I'd honestly recommend. Hopefully it does get better. Hopefully it's not something like iOS 13 where it took half a year to get better. And I'll be completely honest, If I still had a SIM tray, my SIM would not be in this phone. It would be in the S22 or the iPhone 13 mini. I thought that since the 13 Pro was such a good release, the 14 Pro would be as good or even better. I didn't think it could get worse, but Apple messed it up again, with software this time mainly. Every other year, it seems like Apple makes some stupid phone, and it all started with the 7, then the 10s, then the 12, now the 14. If you have a 13 Pro, don't upgrade. That's my advice. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.